Hello, happy 2025. I'm back from a much needed but unintended break. To make a long story short, my phone, which I film on, fell in a toilet, and not only did the screen stop working, but the camera stopped working as well. So I've had to just wait to get it all figured out, but I am here now. I'm very happy to be back. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 2024 in review, like the title says, how frontal lobe development has been real in my life, my 2024 reading stats, and my 2025 reading goals. So getting into how frontal lobe development has been real for me. When I started this channel, I started it because I was determined to change my life. I still am determined for my life to change, but initially in my motto of, or part of one of my mottos in changing my life, is doing things I have not done before. And I've made YouTube videos before. I tried to start a booktube channel during COVID, but I just didn't have the filming environment I wanted, and now I do. So I'm like, okay, I actually want to start posting videos. I want to hopefully get a successful YouTube channel and challenge myself and cause myself to grow a bit, This channel started as a leap of faith for me, and in all honesty, I was in free fall for a bit, but it's only been recently that I've been gaining more clarity on what I want and the direction I want to go in, the things I want to say, the things I want to do with this channel. It's all just been recently really coming together. Reading more has genuinely changed my life, and in such a positive way, and I feel myself becoming a better person the more I've read. And speaking on frontal lobe development, so I turned 25 in November of 2024. Looking back at my channel before I turned 25, as well as just the past the 6 months I was uploading regularly, I'm not worried about how my content may come across or the quality of it, but I do feel a little bit immature when I do go back and look. I'm not taking any videos down. I'm not gonna let myself take any down, even though I have to, on some of them I have to swallow my pride, but I'm just dealing with it and I'm leaving the video up. The videos up. The best way I can describe how I feel about just the past few months is that I consider myself to be a smart person. I consider myself to be knowledgeable. I'm always curious. I'm always wanting to learn. But there are also times where I just feel really stupid and I feel like I'm not a smart person whatsoever. And it's just, I'll have these moments of confidence, and then I'll have these moments of being like, what do I think I'm doing? And out of that feeling, I was like, okay, I need to do more. I need to be better. What can I do? So I've been looking into how to become a better reader, literally how to get the most out of books that I possibly can. And in doing that, it has already really helped my relationship with reading. When I get into talking about my 2025 reading goals, I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth, but I just have to say that I feel like, along with the just feeling smart but also feeling dumb, that feeling has gone away with my frontal lobe developing, but also just the direction of my life and me coming to grips with what I want to do and what I want to go after. It's really crazy how once that last lobe has finished cooking or doing whatever it was doing, how just everything has really clicked into place for me and has really started to come together, and I'm going full speed ahead in 2025. I'm very excited to become a better reader and a better content creator and just a better, more knowledgeable person overall, and all of the good things that are going to come out of 2025. Now, getting into my 2024 reading stats, I read 111 books. I read 24,759 pages. I listened to 579 hours and 45 minutes of audiobooks. My top 5 genres in order from most read to least, or most books read to least books read, is fantasy, romance, YA, only because most of my physical TBR is YA and I'm really trying to get through it, manga, and horror. Here are just some extra stats that I thought were either like interesting or funny, you know, just some superlatives. For the Cider House Rules, it took me 498 days to finish that book. And it's funny because that was not only the first video I posted, but it was, when I look at my analytics, it's one of the few videos that's still like consistently watched by like viewers regularly. I'm like, why that video of all the videos? And it's so long. I'm like, I took forever making that video. Oh my gosh. My average rating was 3.48. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I just feel like it's a bad thing. I'm hoping for a much higher rating this year. I really want, like, I don't know if it's even possible. Like, I want it to be closer to 4 than like 3.48. So like nearly 3.5, but I'm like, I want it higher. And yeah, despite how my average rating isn't very high, 5-star reads had the highest number of books. So I read 18 books this year that were 5 stars, but my rating is only like 3.5, like whatever. Now, my favorites of the year 2024, I got to start with the Seven Realms series by Cinda Williams-Chima, with the Demon King, the Exiled Queen, the Grey Wolf Throne, and the Crimson Crown. This is something that's very dramatic to say, but these books did change my life in a few ways. It made me realize how much I love the warrior queen trope or aesthetic. And in a lot of the books I've read, it's either just not there or it has not been as well done as it was in this series. Oh my goodness. And no, I've not watched or read Game of Thrones, so if there are any warrior queens in there, I do not know of them. I've been itching to reread these so bad, but I have so many books I like plan to read and that I have from the library, so I'm like, I really have to wait and just read them at the right time. But like, so many of the books I've been reading, I'll think about these and I'm like, I just want to reread them so bad, but I have to wait. Some other favorites I read in the year of 2024 were The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. These books are super good. They are bricks, absolutely, but if you love fantasy, I would highly recommend these. And this might be controversial. I really don't care. If you're a fantasy reader and you really like fantasy, and yes, you have not read Brandon Sanderson, read the Stormlight Archive. I don't say don't read Mistborn, but these are better than Mistborn. I said it. I just finished reading Mistborn. I'm going to make a video about Mistborn. But yeah, these two are way better than that whole trilogy. I said it. The only thing with these, I do own Oathbringer, and I don't know if I'll read it in 2025. I'm honestly taking a break from Brandon Sanderson for a bit. I'm scared to keep reading the series because from what people say, like the 4th and 5th one, that nothing happens. It's like they're these huge books, but nothing happens in them. I'm like, I really hope that's not true, but because of that, I'm scared, and I'm just gonna wait a minute. Another favorite was The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I love pirate books, especially women captains. Heck yeah. Just such a great adventure. It was such a good adventure. I love being taken on an adventure, and was so good and so refreshing. I'm highly anticipating the next books that are gonna come out, and I don't own it physically. I want it physically so bad, but they're like multiple versions, so I need to like pick which one I want. But yes, oh my gosh, that book is very good. The last favorite I found in the year of 2024 was Tempt Me at Twilight by Lisa Kalfas. I'm a romance reader. I'm a romance reader, okay? It was my second most read genre. My second most read genre, okay? I'm not joking when I say this. I read this book 4 times in 2024. I listened to it like twice on audiobook, and then I like read it a few times, and then yeah, how there's a bookmark in here, I just skim it. I'll just skim it. If I'm like having a bad day, I'll just pick it up and I'll just start skimming it, and it's like, oh, these books are so good, or this book is so good. And I honestly really like Lisa Kelpas. I like the way she does historical romance. I've just been getting more into my historical romance bag, you know, and yeah, she is very good. I've read a lot of her books, and I want to make a video about, or recommending and talking about, my favorite Lisa Kelpas romances. Moving on from the favorites to the least favorite, the worst books I read in 2024. First, we have Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. The hate read I made about this book is my most watched video significantly. It very much surprised me, but I'm so glad there's so many people who agree with me on how terrible that book is. It is just, it's like I said, it's a joke. It is a joke of a book. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, go watch my hate read about it. Next, I read the first 2 ACOTAR books, and I think I finished A Court of Wings and Ruin in 2024. I'm just working on that video, so it's not going to be coming out yet. I read ACOTAR, I reread ACOTAR, I made hate read videos about it, and it was disappointing. Norwegian Wood, straight hate, pure hate. ACOTAR was love to hate, unfortunately. If you want to check out those hate reads, you can go do that. And then the last least favorite book I'm going to talk about is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book is horrible, or like, that book is just so bad, and I still see content made of people just talking about like, oh, if you like dark academia, read this book, or blah blah blah, just people recommending it. I'm like, no, boo, that book sucks and it's boring. I don't even want to reread it for a hate read. I'm like, I don't want to do that. The only way I would do that is if there were enough people who were like, it's good, you don't know what you're talking about, da 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 da, and I would literally reread it and make a hate read just to prove a point. But I hope it doesn't come to that, because I really don't want to reread it. With that book, I would argue that just because a book is set in an academic setting does not mean that it's academia. I said it. I don't know, like, it's something I've like found, like, oh, a book will be advertised as academia, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then it's like the most boring book I've ever read, and it's like, and they're just at a school. It's like there's nothing academic going on besides the setting, and I'm like, that doesn't count. That does not count. If they're just at a university or they're in a school, that does not make it academia. It doesn't. If they're not learning anything, if there is no classroom action, I don't want to hear it. Because in The Secret History, there's like only like a few like scenes, like 1 or 2 of them in the classroom, and then everything else is just antics, and I'm like, this isn't academia, and I will die on that hill. Some honorable mentions, some superlatives for the year of 2024. The most interesting book I read in the year of 2024 was Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. Oh my goodness. It was not only the most interesting book I read in 2024, but it was the most interesting book I've read in a long time. That feeling when you just like have to keep picking up a book, like you can't go on with your day until like you read some, like that is how I felt, and it's been so long since I felt that way. Honestly, the last book I did that with was with The Grey Wolf Throne. I literally read that book in a day because I was like, I just have to know what happens. Like, I can't just not, like, what? And it was perfect. It was the weekend. It was great. But yeah, it's not only easy to read, but you just, like, I could not guess anything that was going to happen. I was trying, and then something would happen. I'm like, what the heck? And it's one of those stories where you're just right along with the characters as Lilith, the main character, as like she's learning and exploring the world and her circumstances. But yes, Octavia E. Butler is described as a groundbreaking author, especially in the sci-fi genre, for not only Black authors but women, and just sci-fi period. And 100% 100% that is true. I've already read Kindred. I'm reading Adulthood Writes, the second book after Dawn, and I'm gonna read the third book, and then I'm reading Parable of the Sower. So she got me. Miss Octavia E. Butler, she got me. May she rest in peace. She is a legend. She has a super simple writing style that makes it easy to read, but you're never like missing any details or anything. She's great. The most surprising book I read in 2024 was Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. It's funny. So there's a whole story with this. So with that book, I used to work at a bookstore. It was my first job ever, and I bought it when I was working there. So between the ages of like 16 and 20, I bought that book, and it has just been sitting with my TBR for who knows how long. And I was finally like, you know what? Let me just check it out. Let me listen to the audiobook of it. I was reading that at the same time that I was reading Dawn, and I was just like, both of them are like so good and so interesting. I'm like, I haven't felt like this reading books in a minute. I'm like, what is going on? And I really just had to laugh at myself because I was like, these books are good. Like, what the heck? And it's like, one, I just need to get through my TBR more. But two, obviously, if I explore more with books instead of just reading the same stuff over and over, I'm going to have a better time reading. I'm going to experience different worlds and new voices and new prose and things. And it's like, in becoming a better reader, it makes sense that in the more diversely you read, the better reader you'll become. And this ties back to the whole like me feeling smart but like also dumb at the same time, because it's like I'm rereading all these books, and then I'm like I'm kind of not like being stimulated in my brain, and then suddenly I'm just reading more new books, and I'm like, these books are all so good, like what the heck is going on? But it's just like, yeah, maybe when you branch out and explore more, things become interesting. But also, in my defense, I realized is that the past 6 months of me making YouTube videos, it's not only been me like actively trying to have a YouTube channel, a successful one, but also literally getting back into reading. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, I read this much all the time, and I've read this much my whole life. No, it was like going from like reading like one book every like 3 months to like reading multiple books in like a 2-week span, right? Like, that's a pretty significant difference. It's just, I used to be a really big reader, so it was just getting back into it. And for me, the best way to do that was rereading. So I'm like, that's where I'm like, that's my defense, but I didn't even comprehend the fact that reading just more different stuff is a good thing, and would be stimulating in a good and productive way. And finally, we are at my 2025 reading goals. In the year 2025, I hope to read 125 books. I did not purposefully make it 125 for 2025. I did not do that on purpose. I don't know why I came up with this rule for myself. But it's like, okay, depending on however many books I read in 1 year, I want to challenge myself to read 10 more in the next year. With me having read 111 books in 2024, if I only added 10, it would be 121, and I can't with that number. I'm like, that is way too odd of a number. 120 is less than 10, so I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I'm like, let's make it 125. And it just works out that it's in 2025, so I guess I didn't do it on purpose, but it works out. Another goal I have is I want to read way more new books. Not only books I haven't read, but books that have come out within 2024, 2025. I do love to reread. I love to reread a book. So I'm doing my best to keep it 50-50, but I always want to be leaning more in reading new things. I want to become better read, more well read, not just like reading as fast as I can or reading as much as I can, being intentional about what I'm reading, how I'm reading, why I'm reading it, all those things. Yeah, with so many of the books I've reread, it's like I'll finish it and I'll be like, I'm never reading this again. And I really want to stay away from that. I don't want that to keep happening. But with so many of the books I've been rereading, it's like I'll finish it and it's like, I'm never reading that book again. And a lot of them, I'm like, I want to give it away. And it's a complex feeling, and I talk about it in the video I made about Strange the Dreamer, because I think that was the first one where it's like, I'm not gonna reread these books ever. But it's a sad feeling, but I think it's a good one, and it's a sign of like growth and change. And then with my videos, with my channel specifically, I want to do a better job of making my opinion clear and making a statement with the video. That's going back to me saying how I like felt immature about like the past 6 months of like my content on the channel. I had a really bad habit of just like explaining what happens in the book and letting that speak for itself, because for me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, this happens in the book. Like, what else would you think would come from that? But for people who have already read that book, and yeah, especially with how I talk about spoilers, a person will want more out of a video talking about a book instead of just the person in the video explaining what happened in the book, right? I really want to do a better job of not only just explaining what I got out of it and my opinion, but just what I believe the author may have been trying to say, or just the overall message of the books and like my different interpretations here and there. And in the personal research I've been doing about becoming a better reader, becoming more well-read, a lot of them just say like not only like getting a grasp on how your language is able to be used through literacy, and literally like challenging yourself with what you're reading, but also in what you're reading, finding the humanity in it. Someone said you have to find the piece of the human soul that is in the paper and try to figure how that is impacting the story, but also how that made the book what it is. I really want to start doing a better job of that. Try to like pull more like intriguing ideas or like discussion topics or just conversations out of what I read, and posing questions, being a little bit more curious, being a little bit more introspective on the book in itself. I want to do a much better job of that. I want to push myself. I always want to challenge myself, and I always want to be growing and changing for the better, for the good. That was my 2024 in review, my stats, and my 2025 reading goals. It was a little hard at first, but I'm very happy to be back in filming videos and be able to be more consistent again, and I'm very excited for the year of 2025. Despite everything that is going on the planet, I'm very excited and looking forward to everything that is going to come out of this year. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of me and hear how good of a singer I am, you can check out my music channel and original music, all under the name of Shy Fighter. Like if you want to like, subscribe if you want to subscribe, comment if you want to comment. I don't know. Do whatever you would like to do, and I will see you when I see you. Farewell.